But it's just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, very, very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will that kind of make being Xbox hard. But we are not in a position, and I see it out there, I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true.
That sentence that Phil Spencer just spoke has been stuck in my head for 8 months now because it's completely incorrect and wrong. And to prove that it's wrong, all you need to do is just look to the past, to the 360's biggest competitor, the PS3.
The 20 gigabyte PlayStation 3 will retail for $499 US and 549 Canadian dollars.
PlayStation 3 makes my life as a software developer much harder.
Lots of developers, us included, will complain about the architecture of the PS3 not being particularly easy to develop for.
You know you fucked up when you have two of the granddaddies of first-person shooters shit-talking your console. And if you don't know who these two guys are, this guy right here, this is Gabe Newell, one of the founders of Valve Software. And if you somehow don't know Valve Software, they made Half-Life, a revolution in gameplay and storytelling, with a story that never took you out of the experience with the cutscene, leading to one of the most iconic moments in video game history, with the tram intro sequence.
I can tell you the number of people who started up the game, were staring at it, and then accidentally bumped their mouse and realized this is live.
Yeah.
And as simple as that sounds, it was mind-blowing for so many people.
Then you've got the other guy, John Flippin' Carmack, who's famous for making a little indie game that you may have heard about, Doom. That's often considered to be one of the most important video games to have ever released for the modern day and age of video games. Without Doom, we wouldn't have any first-person shooters because of how important this game was as a base to follow. It's so important that you know the history of these guys because they aren't little fish. They have words to say and people will listen. John Carmack thinks the PS3 was a mistake.
And Sony has this weird sort of cell architecture, which there's been a lot of PR about, but it's very difficult, I hear, to program,
It is symmetric, where you have one processor with dual threads that are symmetric on there, where you do most of your work. But then anything that you want to spin off to the cells, you have to break up into these small nuggets of work and use a different compiler, different tool chain for it.
So bottom line, you think it was a mistake for them to go that way?
I do. I think that the reasoning that somewhat saves them is Sony has the dominant market position over Microsoft. And they can look at this and say developers are essentially forced to sweat blood to go ahead and take advantage of the cell.
But the thing is, developers would not take full advantage of the cell. Games would look worse on PS3, and it was a more powerful console. The Xbox 360 just looked better because it was easier to make games on it. Yes, you could get power out of the cell, but to learn how to develop and use it, it was just such a pain.
You make tiny little changes to code running on one of the SPEs and the entire thing will grind to a halt. And you have no visibility into why that's happening. It's just sort of magically running really, really slow.
For an experienced programmer to learn how to develop for the PS3, it would take about 6 months. For someone that was new and inexperienced to game development, it would take them upwards of 12 months just to learn the hardware of the PS3. That's not even making games. That's just learning how to use this console. So how would Sony get out of this massive pit that was the PS3? Well, for starters, they had a massive stroke of luck.
I just had the worst thing happen to me that an Xbox 360 owner can have happen to them. Here it is, the red ring of death. I only have one ring. I've seen lots of people have 3 rings.
Some faulty Xbox 360s are literally melting down while running certain games.
You ever seen this error before? It's the new Xbox 360 I just received today.
Okay guys, as you can see, I got the ring of death.
One Xbox has been sent back 3 times, which would be our 4th Xbox. The other 2 Xboxes were sent back once, so we're on our 2nd Xbox on each one of those.
The red ring of death was one of the many mistakes that Microsoft made with the 360. Yeah, the PS3 was a piece of shit, but at least it didn't break when you played games too much on it. That $1 billion speed bump created a massive ripple that just continued to grow between these two consoles. Where Microsoft just rested on their morals and waited for the PS3 to die, PlayStation changed their whole mindset about their console. The 360 was cheaper, so PlayStation did everything within their power to match their price. PlayStation then began to work closer with developers and strengthen the relationships that were burned.
Hi, my name is Gabe Newell and I work at Valve. Now, I've been pretty outspoken in my comments about the current generation of game consoles. So I'd really like to thank everyone at Sony for their gracious hospitality and for not repeatedly punching me in the face. And I think that gamers will be delighted with features like Steam Cloud and automatic updates that will make the PlayStation 3 version of Portal 2 the best version on any console.
All of these changes that PlayStation made to their brand was for one reason and one reason only: games. They work closer with developers to make them want to make games on their platform. They made their console cheaper so that people were more likely to buy it and start playing games on it. And that game that person was playing was more than likely an exclusive. The PS3 is where the PlayStation exclusive became a big deal. Yeah, the 360 could probably run Uncharted 2, but it ain't gonna be on it. Microsoft's magnum opus through all of this was Halo. If you were an Xbox fan early on, you bought the original Xbox to play Halo Combat Evolved. And that continued on to the 360 with Halo 3, Reach, and ODST. Halo was a winning formula. It was a safe formula and it would work consistently. Microsoft knew this, Bungie knew this, but when Bungie wanted to make something different, Microsoft would not let them, so they left. It's so ironic to me that Microsoft lost the studio that put them on the map for being so unique and different because they didn't want to take the risk with something new and different. We've seen it with the deals that they made on the 360, and we're seeing it now with the studios that they're buying on the Series X. And we can even see it with the games that they promote. Hi-Fi Rush released out of the blue, and everyone loves it. The cel-shaded style, the rhythm combat, the game has reached critical acclaim, and on PC it even has a higher review score than Halo Infinite, Starfield, and Redfall. And they were just too afraid of the game being different that the only time they started advertising for it was after it released. PlayStation literally dug themselves out of a grave by having unique and different games. And Microsoft just still has not noticed this. I feel like all the work that Sony did with the PS3 came to a forefront on June 14th, 2013. That was the day that everyone realized the PS3 was no longer a joke. It was now a formidable console that could make good-looking games that were also fun to play. Everyone was watching the PS3 that day. That's also the day The Last of Us released.